have a lot of people asking about the Rubicon and when our next ride is going to be. So I figured I'd give an update on everything that needs to get done before I can start on the Rubicon. I got this bike, we had to pull the motor on, and it needs to, front and rear cover has to come off. We got to check timing chain, check the clutches, and then we have to, I think, adjust that shift sensor on the rear as well, because that one's showing fourth gear when you're in neutral. This motor, bad crank. This one, hole in it, needs a new counterbalance and a few things inside the cases. We'll have hoodies. I think hoodies are going to be available in 2 weeks, but that's all this bike needs. Front and rear cases or covers need to come off, and then throw a new top end on it. And then Kayla's bike, bad crank, but I just had 2 cranks show up today. And that's another problem. So either one crank is going in here, and then we have to check Josh's old bike, the one I bought. We got to check this motor and see if the crank is bad on it as well. So I don't know when I'm going to pull the top end off, but if this crank is good, then it'll save me some time and I can get started on the Rubicon. I already have a crank for that. And I'll need to take the 520 jug, take it to the machine shop, get the bottom of the jug turned down so it'll fit between the 500 cases on this bike. And then Jake's bike needs a top end. I think that's the only thing on it. Might need a steering bearing as well, steering stem bearing. This Red Rancher, finished with that one. This is the one that we did that motor on. So I mean, this one's waiting to be sold. I already got it listed up on Facebook. But that, and then this Red Rancher back here is getting I think just a top end. Timing chain kind of sounds loose, but I'll do the top end and then see how the motor sounds and go from there. But just need to get these bikes finished up. Too many bikes and not enough time. But I do have the Outlaw 3s that are going on the Rubicon, and starter. Wiseco piston rings are going on, I think, Kayla's bike, but I'm not sure just yet. And then here's the 520 jug between a 500 and 420 case. So we need to take this to the machine shop, probably just bore it over 50, and then get the bottom of the jug turned down, probably like 2 thousandths, just to fit in between the cases. And then I think that's basically the only parts we need to finish up the Rubicon motor. Getting this bike all washed up now, and then gonna get it pulled in and go ahead and pull the top end off, get it replaced, and then this one should be done. I mean, I don't think any other issues other than listen for the timing chain or pull the front cover off and check it, but getting it all cleaned up. So I got the top end pulled off this bike. Crank is good, there's no play in it. And I think it's just gonna be the rings, because this is a cheap top end, so I think the rings went bad. So I'm gonna throw a Wiseco piston and rings in it with a new jug, and then go from there and see how it runs. I forget which bike I left off on, but finished the top end on this one. I forgot to record after that. Finished topping on this one. Got this motor pulled out. Did the front and rear covers. Fixed the timing chain issue, which if you follow me on Instagram, you would see that timing chain fell off. Literally just sitting there in the front cover. So that one's fixed. This Red Rancher's done. So all three of the Red Ranchers are done. And about to pull the motor on Kayla's bike. Got to get that one out. And I need to get the cranks out of my truck. So I'll get those out and unbox those. And show you what those look like after they got rebuilt. Alright, so here's the crank. This one was rusted bad. And here's the parts, the old parts that were on it. You can choose if you want to get them sent back to you or not. And I sent these off to Mr. Crankshaft. His name's Vince. He's up in Kentucky. Shipped 2 bad cranks off, and he went through them, and then brought them back to life. Put all new bearings, new rod on it, cleaned it up. And this had rust all over it, but he got it cleaned up, looking new. So we're gonna throw this in Kayla's bike first, and then we're gonna decide if the Brown Rancher needs a crank or not. And if it doesn't, then crank is going in the Rubicon. But there's that, and then all the old parts from it. I think you got to pay shipping there, but the price was $280 per crank, and you can email him, and he'll give you a price on your model, and then you just ship it to him and get it back. I think shipping there, and then he did it over the weekend. I got it back Wednesday. I think it all took a week, so that's not bad at all. Saved you a couple $100 from buying a new crank as well. So we stopped by KHAOS Off-Road shop yesterday, picked up a few things. Check us out on Instagram and see how to win these headlights. This is for a 2014 plus Rancher, Foreman, or Rubicon. And you can see how to enter on Instagram. We have that, and just started raining, but picked up some more stocks. Got another motor. Gonna open that one up, see if everything's all good in that one, and that pushes us closer to finishing the Rubicon a lot sooner. So just gotta get a top in, and if all checks out on that motor, we'll be good to go. Gotta get my motor stand out. If you don't use wheelchairs or office chairs to roll your motors around, I think you're missing out. If you need to, you can put the brakes on so it don't roll around. Perfect. So right now I'm just getting this motor sprayed down with some Alumabrite. I'm just going to clean it up before I tear it apart and check out the inside of it. But I don't know if I'm just going to spray this on or spray it on and scrub it. I don't know, I'm just going to hit it with a pressure washer and try to knock most of the dirt and oil and stuff off, but we'll see how it goes. But the Alumabrite's already foaming up on it, so it must be doing something. So with this motor, I ended up just spraying it with Alumabrite and then hitting it with the pressure washer. Didn't scrub it or anything. I mean, cleaned up way better than I thought, but once I cleaned it, I sprayed it down with WD-40 just so it doesn't get powdery or anything when it pulled the coating off. but still got to get all this RTV and silicone off. Looks like this motor went through like 3 or 4 different times with all different colored silicone, so just getting that cleaned up now. After that, I'm just going to pull it apart and see if the crank is good. Got Kayla's motor out of her bike. Got it torn down to just the center cases, so probably do this tomorrow. Split the cases and then put a new crank in it. This time I marked where neutral was on this just to be sure, because when you're pulling the shift mechanism off the front, it usually spins the barrel and changes the gear. So that was our issue the whole time. Kept putting it back together wrong and it would read a different gear when it's in neutral. So splitting that tomorrow. Got the brown Rancher pulled up here, getting it all taken apart, going through, get it back to 100%, just so I can have a spare bike for now. So hopefully the motor up there that I cleaned, that I got from KHAOS, I'll be able to put in this bike with a new top end, and then that'll get this one finished up a lot quicker. And then both of these are done. And I need to do a top end on that green Rancher out there. So then I'm about to get started on the brown Rancher back there. Kayla's red Rancher, we're working on the motor right now, waiting for Kyle to get off work so we can get the crank put in it and then get that motor back together, throw a top end on it, and then put it back in the bike. But brown Rancher behind me, that was Josh's bike. There's some Outlaw 3s I got from him. But getting that one taken care of, front bumper's off because it's all ripped up, and then axle, pull the top end off, and check the crank. So either way, should be starting on the Rubicon this week, hopefully. So pick up here once I start pulling the Rancher apart. So I got the floorboards off this Rancher, and saying about ending the video here just because I need to finish this one, and the next video will be setting this motor up where we can split the cases and not have the transmission fall apart, and showing a video of taking the crank out, swapping it, lining up the counterbalance, and getting it all back together. But should be pretty simple once we open up the cases. Keep everything together this time so we don't have to worry about putting the transmission back together.